What's going on, bro? How's
Nothing
everybody
much.
doing? That's been waiting around in the comments. Oh, K&D
Yeah,
Reptiles, what's going on? What is
quite a
up?
few.
Jay Slithers,
Indeed.
what's up? And All City Serpents, what's going on? Appreciate everybody tapping in already on this Sunday. It's been a minute now because we had to skip the last one because of the holiday,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Holiday. Thanks. Or
so it's been a
Easter
whole, a
Sunday. Easter
whole month.
Sunday.
Yeah, it's been a whole month.
Yeah.
So the 50th show. And it's gonna be jam packed because actually I've been following Renowned for a while,
Oh
and
yeah.
he's pretty much
Definitely.
your neighbor. He's right there in your backyard, so
Yeah.
watching a
Yeah. He's
lot of
not that
different
far from
projects
me.
and working with. So definitely gonna pick his brain and see what's going on with him. What's up, Jeff? What's
One of the
good?
one of the biggest things I've noticed that with him and just watching him through his journey is that he loves dark jeans. He loves
Right.
dark jeans, and he adds those dark jeans, and he's been running with those. Now, I've heard him say he's not going to add hypo, so we're going to ask this question.
Uh oh.
He's not
Oh
going to
yeah,
add
that's
hypo.
That's gonna
Yeah.
be fun. Oh, yeah. And everybody hit that like button, chime in, and bring the questions as well in the comments, and we'll make sure we can get them over to Nick so he can answer them. This is gonna be his episode for him to debut a lot of his projects that he's focused in on, and hopefully he can reveal some of the direction that he plans to head in. And without further ado, let's go ahead and bring out our guest of honor. Here we go. What's going on, homie?
How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. Super excited about this one. Tell us a little bit about yourself first and how you got started.
Yeah, so my name is Nick Sjol. That's how you say that last name. I got two four-letter words for a name. And Renowned Reptiles is my company. I think, as Darren alluded to, I really enjoy the dark, busy morphs. So that's been my lane. I've been staying in it and just kind of grinding out that path. You know, I have my own vision and what I want and what I think is cool. And fortunately, there's other people, you know, in the game that are in that lane too and are liking it as well. So really appreciative of my customers over the years and you know all the support and everyone that's bought into the vision. So yeah, I'm here in Sacramento, California. Um, been doing ball python seriously for probably 12, 13 years now. Yeah, I've been keeping ball python since I was 10. I still have my first pet. I got my first ball python when I was 10. He was already 6 and he's 33 now. Yeah.
33-year-old. How's he doing?
He's good. I mean,
how's he doing though?
He's great. When I got him, he had scars on his back from being chewed on by a rat. And when I got him, he was in a fish tank with carpet and a heat rock. So just about everything that you don't want to do is all stacked up in one. And so, you know, I've had learning experiences with him, obviously, over the years on, you know, what do these animals actually prefer as far as habitat or what they like. And definitely don't want to do the all glass fish tank. That's definitely not the move. From there, you know, went to the vision enclosure. And with lots of hides and things in there, it can work, but I had it in a huge vision. So wasn't ideal. And then when I moved over to the tub system, I put him in a 70 thinking I'm just going to give my boy, you know, the bachelor pad, and he wasn't eating. He didn't like it. It was again, too much room. And I put him in a 40 and he slaps food every week now. So at the end of the day, you have to listen to the animal and they'll tell you when they're comfortable.
I've been saying that for a while now. You know, I'm the newbie on the block, but I had to experience that as well. You know, trying to give them so much space. You know, we still have empty tubs here. You know, allow our collection to grow into what it needs to be. And time again, you know, they've spoken for themselves. They're like, yeah, I'm not eating. It's too much space. So you got to kind of listen. Some of them do perfectly fine, being small in a big tub, perfectly fine. But if you move them up, maybe it may be too fast for that specific snake, or for some, they will never take to a bigger enclosure. You can keep trying, but you just gotta listen to your snakes. Definitely, I'm huge on that.
Individuals.
Yep. Wow. So your rodents, are you breeding your own rodents or are you purchasing?
Both. So My son does the rodent breeding for me, so there's obviously been some ups and downs with that, right?
How old is your son?
My son's 19. He turns 20 in November.
Dude, you look like you're like 20 something years old, man.
Yeah. So for frame of reference, my son and I had the same high school basketball coach.
Wow.
That's crazy though. That's
Yeah.
wild. Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah. So I had my son when I was 17. So real early, obviously. Obviously very challenging to do something like that at that age.
Yeah.
You know, I just kind of buckled down, got to work, and did what was right for my family. Hindsight, you know, now my friends, you know, I'm 37, just turned 37. So, you know, my friends have younger kids and, you know, they're tired or they can't do this because they got to get this or have a babysitter for this one, don't have it for that one. And my son's picking me up from concerts at the casino as my DD. So, you know, hindsight's 2020. Obviously it was challenging when I was young, but set up for early retirement now.
Right.
No, that's true. That's true. You get to leave the nest, and you're not that old, and you can still live your life a little bit.
Yeah. And obviously my son can barely get away with anything because I just did it not too long ago.
Yeah.
So he's a really good kid. Obviously battling the same thing that everybody else does with screens and distractions and trying to grind work ethic into your kids and make sure they stay focused on dreams because there's nothing but distractions in the world at this point. So trying to do that side with teaching him the reptile side of the business, how to talk to people, how to be engaging, how to handle your commitments before you go have fun.
Yeah,
exactly. Sure. Well, it sounds like you're setting a great example for him. You know, definitely. What's your the size of your collection in general? The size of your collection?
Yeah, so I have about 200, 250 ball pythons, depending on the influx of babies at the time, right? And how quick they're going out the door. But honestly, right now, I think it's 46 adults for sale. And not because there's anything wrong. And actually, it's been hard to put a star on those tubs because they're powerhouses still. But I've hit my threshold as far as what I can do where I'm at. And at this point, I either have to get a warehouse and dedicate a lot more time. This is not what I do for a living. So I don't have any qualms with what pays my bills and provides health insurance for my family. And I don't want to do this to pay the bills in the way that I like cooking, but I didn't like cooking for a living, you know? And I love my animals, you know, and so I don't want to have to part with things to pay a bill, you know? So I feel very blessed that I get to do this at this scale as a hobby. And so I just continue to count it as a blessing and extra income. And obviously tax write-off here and there. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, it's already sounding like you're taking the right approach, you know, to it with the tax write-offs and seeing your displays and your whole layout of when you've been shows. I mean, it's extremely professional. I love seeing it. It's really,
we just did
awesome.
a big upgrade for this SAC show 2 weeks ago. We did all new tablecloths, a new banner. So the banner I had before was a cool design, but was the collapsible sign, you know, and it didn't have a back. And so obviously I elevate my sign and there's lights at the venue and it was shining through the back of the sign and you can kind of see the crossbars and it didn't look as black. Like my logo is black. And so it looked like a soft gray and my OCD was just going ham. And so I work with my boy 66 Serpents, who does all of my logo, does all my swag, does all my drip. He's MVP. Credit to Ryan all day. He came out with the 13x10 sign for the new show. That was the sleeve that goes over the structure. So it has it on both sides. It's jet black now. And I forgot he was doing tablecloths. So now I have the fitted sheets that have the logo on it too. But on the end cap, it has my circle logo so you can see it from all angles. We got a lot of great feedback on that booth at the last show. And I just kept stepping back like, wow, like this looks amazing. And I didn't really have anything to do with it. It's just
was that a pretty big show?
Trust professionals, right?
Quite a few people showed up to that show.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so people, you know, it's been tough at shows recently. You know, with people getting in the door or not, or they're not buying right now. And there's been a lot going on over the last few years that have kind of created some pause for people. If they're choosing between groceries and snakes, I think that's a pretty easy decision at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
But I was trying to get my fellow breeders here in Sacramento to really bring the positive vibes for the show and just start manifesting now and stop saying, oh, it's going to be bad. It's going to be this. I just did this last show. Like, bring the good energy. Let's talk about how great it's going to be. It's tax season. We're shows right after, all taxes are due. Most people should have their refunds by now, feel maybe a little bit more comfortable buying that thing that they've been wanting for a long time. Let's put the good vibes out there. And lo and behold, here in California, it decided to rain that weekend. And if people had outdoor plans and indoor plans, it got forced to one. So the Saturday was packed. Like I looked up, it was 2:30. I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and I had trouble getting back to the bathroom through the people. So we did really great on Saturday. Sunday for the little local shows, typically I call it like family day. You get a lot of the kids and stuff, but that's where you get people hooked young, and you take stuff out for people to hold and stand outside your booth and really work it that way. So overall, we had a great show, and a lot of the vendors I talked to also did really well relative to the number of animals they bought. So I always try to pull it back to the ratio. They're like, oh, you sold a bunch of snakes. Well, yeah, I brought 80-something animals. How many did you bring? Well, I brought 25. Well, you sold 5. That's really good relative to what you brought, So it doesn't matter the ending number. It's what did you bring versus what you sold.
Having that number there.
Now, what's your strategy when doing shows? Do you just strictly bring what you have available, or do you go through what you have available and pick certain type of tiered animals?
Yeah. So if I have a ton of animals, I'm thinking about the show first. What's my audience, right? Is this a big show? Is this a smaller show? If it's a really big show and you have extra space, you might want to bring some stuff out to flex and just show people kind of what you're doing, in addition to what you have for sale. Some of the smaller shows, you tend to get more people looking for pets and kind of need more information. And so you can kind of bring more of that offering, maybe a couple high-end animals for sales, just in case you can cover all markets, right? You want to be able to cover the mid, the low, and the high. I think we do a good job of that, of having a good price range for anybody. It's approachable, and you can get it from the same cool booth, right? It doesn't just have to be expensive stuff. And the other strategy outside of like acknowledging your show and your target audience of who's coming is how you handle yourself at the show, right? You can come and dump a bunch of money into your booth and be professional and look great, but it doesn't matter if you're sitting in a chair the whole time with your arm crossed on your phone or eating McDonald's in the background, and people aren't going to approach your booth. You look like you're too busy or you don't look approachable to begin with. So we pass out stickers to kids. We have dedicated cool snakes. Like I bring an adult scaleless ball python. He's famous. His name's Richard in our area. And people ask, where's Richard? Where's Richard? Because they get to hold an adult. He's 7-8 years old now. They get to hold this cool newspaper looking snake. And people always ask me, why did you name him Richard? And it's kind of an adult joke. And it also breaks the ice and get people laughing. And I'm like, well, what's a nickname for Richard? And then they look down, and half the time it'll be like a dad holding it, and he'll look down, and then he'll look at me and just kind of hand it back.
Because you're like, hey, if you touch give a snake, you already know.
Right. So doing stuff like that, we play music, right? We try to keep the vibes up, not obviously anything too extreme one way or the other, right? If I know cuss words are coming, I run over the phone and hit next really quick, or if the vibe is down on that song, I'm just changing it, right? We're trying to make people feel good when they come up to your booth. And really that's sales 101, and that's what I do for a living. So I'm in medical sales for a living. And it's not like what you tell people, it's how you make people feel. And so if they feel welcomed, feel like they learned something, or they feel if you were just nice, I get a lot of people just coming back at the end of the day and deciding to buy their pet from us because we actually talk to them, we answer questions. I have care sheets to help people, with taking care of stuff when they get home, and then I'm accessible outside of that to answer questions. So you really want to cover all markets. I learned really quick in sales that nobody is below you, right? You want to be friends with the janitor and you want to be friends with the CEO because you don't know if the janitor is the cousin of the CEO, right?
Oh yeah.
So
That's true too.
just be kind and it'll tend to work out.
You know, that simple message, people don't tend to process it, you know, and it maybe they skip over it a lot, but that is like home run, you know, in the sport of baseball. In this business, that's like legitimately a home run. You know, treat people good, treat people the way you want to be treated. You know, stop trying to think you can trick people into buying something. You know, give them what hopefully they're looking for, and if it's not, be helpful and considerate enough to maybe pass them along to the next breeder who has what they're looking for. You know, we've created or got a lot of customers that way, where they come back to us. They're like, you referred us over to your partner over here. I was like, yeah, well, they're our partner, but not our partner. They're our partner considering that they're in the same industry and love the same animals that we love, but they're their own entity. And they're like, so you don't get anything for that. No, we get self-satisfaction in knowing that you're buying the animal that you want. It don't have to be from us.
And
you know, that's the shop. Yeah.
Yeah, like, so I'll walk around the show when I get there. Like Darren said, I have dark stuff, right? So I'll walk around the show, look for albinos, bananas, or any of the more bright pieds because I have the dark pieds, right?
Right.
And so I know where they are. And so people go, hey, do you have albinos? You have bananas? No, but if you go over 2 booths behind me, I saw really cool bananas over there. You can tell them Renown sent you over, right?
Yeah.
All good.
Recognition.
Yeah. Definitely.
Turn around. They do the same thing for you because if they don't have anything dark, they're gonna be like, "Hey, go ahead and head over to Renown because he has all the dark stuff."
Exactly. It's all love, man. You gotta. Like Darren knows we leverage the strength of our Northern California breeders to drive down the price of supplies.
Right.
We leverage all of our buying power to get something that was way more affordable and a high quality product.
Surely did, and I'll say what it is. Cypress mulch, I am a believer in it.
Hey, you know I am. I'll say Antoine started it. Antoine started it. And when I jumped on that, I said, not enough people know about this. And that's when I hit Darren up and said, you got to get this. You got.
Yeah, I was on Cypress, moved to cocoa, was very allergic to cocoa. Like my neck would break out in hives right here while I was cleaning from the dust and the sweat.
Wow.
And my allergies would just be going ham. And I was seeing mold on the cocoa, and I was like, I don't like that at all. And none of my white pieds were that white because they were stained with natural cocoa. I don't know any cocoa husk that has red in it, number one. And why are my pieds red? So switch back to Cypress, but I was buying cases of forest floor from my local pet shop at a small discount because I wholesale to them. But it was still $27 a bag for 0.33 cubic feet. You know what I'm saying? That's expensive. And so when I found that information, actually shout out to Will Moros up in Canada. He put me on with those people and I kind of shared the information. I was supposed to lead that charge like a year and a half ago and just could never find the time to bring everyone together. Fortunately, we have other people here in Northern California that had the same vision. They put it together. I just participated at that point. So very thankful that they were able to make it happen. But it was a huge win for everybody. And I've been kind of sharing the wealth with some of my customers.
Oh yeah. I was very pleased to kind of start that little domino effect. I'm like, hey, I got to get on this. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I did not have the bandwidth to handle all of that. That was a lot.
Oh, that is a ton.
Especially and then getting the truck coming in and everything else. 11
I had pull up in my driveway and we just started dumping bags on my side yard. I think I moved the bags of cypress 3 times and it was 2,800 pounds of cypress. Like, my back needs a break.
Yeah. Man, crazy. Miggy had his truck loaded to the brim.
That thing had a gangster link to it. It was sitting sideways.
You would think like, what is he having there?
So what is it though with the like the West Coast or California where there's literally, I even looked around myself, but I couldn't find any other distributors that were willing to even work. You know,
I don't
that's
know what happened because
opportunity.
You remember there was one point Freedom Beater had cypress mulch for the longest time. You could get cypress mulch.
I got it.
You know, so where were they getting it from at that time? Because all of a sudden that just completely stopped and then just.
Well, if you come out with your own private label bedding, they made the choice. I talked to Jesse during that transition, and they made the choice because of what they were. You can't do both if you're saying that cocoa's the business, right? That's counterintuitive. So they went all in.
That's true. That's true.
Wow.
I mean,
it still seems to leave such an avenue for someone else to pick up, and it just like never did. You know,
because cocoa, like it seemed like cocoa just took off out of nowhere. It just boom, everybody got it. You know, but then it was only what $10 a bag or something like that. Not even that. At that
it was
time.
like 10-15 a block, right? And then it went up to 20, and then it was 25, and then it was 30 shipped, 30. And then once they got everyone's flipped, and they got the market dominated, then they do what people do and start jacking the price up. But we still had another option.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of people started with cocoa, and so they didn't have the history of what did we use before cocoa.
Right. Now, I guess kind of being devil's advocate, because, we're using cypress too. But what are some of the negatives to cypress? Because I haven't found any yet.
Antimicrobial. It doesn't mold from what I've seen at all. You can spray it down. It'll dry back out. It doesn't stain. It's way less dusty.
It's like I can't find any. No, it's almost like we're trying to sell it, but it's like
sometimes a snake will get a little piece in the corner of their mouth when they go to bite a rodent or something. But it always just came out on its own. I've never had to go help the snake.
Yeah, so it'd be all right because cocoa gets stuck in the mouth, and you gotta really actually help the snake.
Oh, it gets all in their passages. It gets all in their Jacob's organ passages. It gets between their gum and their actual teeth because of the fibrous, pieces of it. It's. I'll let you know when I find something wrong with cypress, but
I'm gonna post it up, put it out there. Disclaimer: one thing.
I mean, Matt will tell you different, but.
Yeah, you have that long list, and then even with price, it's like price is low too. So it's just like, oh, what? You can't really find much.
Even being on that, I've had the best sheds, because I went to Pine for a while, but I've had the best sheds. I haven't had no problem. The humidity stays up in my room, so when I walk in there, I'm like, I can feel the humidity. I can feel it. You feel the difference.
Right.
I love it. I love it. Even dumping out my tubs. I dump out the tub and I'm like, I see no stains. All I gotta do is spray this thing out and I'm good to go.
I mean, you can even use it as garden bedding at the end of the day if you wanted to.
We're gonna pick your brain a little bit. So you come from the medical sales field. You've been obviously selling a good amount of ball pythons.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question that most people can benefit from, because I feel that we have an issue with the adjusting. No one likes to adjust, good or bad. But as we, make new combos, discover new genes, and put those genes even into older combos, do you feel that you specifically, because I know as a whole we do have this problem, but do you feel that you specifically have an issue with adjusting to where the market needs to be rather than where you feel it should be when it comes to certain combos that you maybe have on a pedestal that maybe are like the backbone to certain projects you're working with? And for example, let's say Clown Pod, 2 years ago, Clown Pod, that's a project snake with no incomplete dominance in it, top tier, put it in your rack. That's going to be a staple. And there's nothing wrong. We have plenty of them ourselves, but to a certain extent, a normal just Clown Pod, essentially in my amateur, experience, at this point, it's a upper pet quality if there's no genes in it, but it is an awesome staple to have, especially as a female, in your tubs to kind of build from. So do you have a problem moving that scale as we continue in the industry?
No, I think it's realistic. And I think if you need to see how it's supposed to be done, just look at a different market. At the end of the day, if you're the only one with the product and it's new, the price is going to be high. But as other companies figure out a way to make it and join the market, it's not as rare anymore. So the price naturally should fall. Now, if you relate that to ball pythons, codoms or dominant genes are not as hard to make. So more companies can start making that product quickly. Where a recessive gene, you may hold the market for longer, but eventually people will start making it at a slower pace because it takes longer to make. So that's where you hear the argument for codon versus recessive and best in recessives. It's just dragging the value of your animal a little bit longer.
Absolutely.
But like even the Stranger Project, where bought in at 40K, next year we're selling them for 25. The next year selling them for 12 to now where we are. It's natural for a codom to drop 50% year over year because I only need one to make it. Like that's natural. And then that's just like the natural flow of the market and kind of just how things work, right? But if now we're talking about the ebbs and flows of the market or demand or cash that's just free to spend for people, right?
Right.
There's going to be ebbs and flows when times are tough, when we're in a recession, whatever. This is disposable income for most people. This is the only time they're going to spend that is if they have disposable income.
Yep.
So if we're in a recession and people don't have a ton of extra disposable income, does it make sense to produce high volume? No, because you're going to saturate the market. And then you're going to sit on those animals, and your profit margins are going to shrink as you continue to put meals into them. Not only
if you put meals in them.
Don't even get me started on that. Don't sell me a 150 gram 2-year-old snake. Come on. But you kind of have to flex with the market. So like last year, I kind of just did my essential dark projects that I needed to keep moving to stay on course, right? But maybe I paused on some other stuff, gave some girls a year off, and that's okay too. They're animals. Giving them a year off can be helpful. You also can kind of reset when they lay. If they were laying really late in the year and you give them a year off, you might be able to get them laying in April through June. And now you have stuff ready at the end of the year versus just hatching. So it's okay to pause on some things. And if you're only looking at it, well, I'm just feeding that snake for a year and now it's an expense suck. Well, I don't think you're in this for the right reasons, maybe at the end of the day, or maybe you need to reshape your collection to follow your vision better, right?
Yep.
And it's okay to sell adults. It's okay. I have a cap, right? I've capped myself on the number of ball pythons that I can get, which means I have to sell an adult to move a hatchling from holdback over. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that adult. And in most cases, it's very painful for me to sell them because I know they're a great animal. And I know that where the market is at right now, I'm not going to get what I think that animal is worth.
Exactly. Marcus and Tiffany, yes, he's dropping gems right here. Listen up.
It's painful for me to see female clowns between 2,000 and 4,000 grams, massive girls that are going to give you 10 to 12 eggs, going from $300 to $500.
Right.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Seen that.
But that's a realistic view of where we are. The clown is kind of a base gene now.
Right. And then we had that conversation before, and it's not harmful to let that go, especially as you continue to add whatever you're working with. Me and Darren had that conversation all the time. Why in the world you got a pastel het clown girl for the last 8 years? Oh, she gave me 10 eggs. What are you doing? Move that along and keep stepping up in the game. That's not gonna cut it.
So yeah,
you gotta think you were around at the time when it was, incomplete dominant, stack, and then how many incomplete dominants you had made that value of that animal. Right. Now we just have a base of a clown. Now we need stack, incomplete dominance into that to add the value to it again. It's almost like we're doing the same thing, but now we're gonna add recessives and we're gonna keep building from there in the incomplete dominance.
Yep.
Now you won't hear me say don't add recessives. I think to be viable and to continue projects along, that's where the market's going. That's where the vision for ball python specifically is going. So I think you would be mistaken not to work that way.
Right.
That being said, stay in your lane. If you need to accomplish the 5 co-down, whatever, to then go make that het, to then get to your final goal, then don't waver. Stay the course and keep doing what you're doing because it's going to be worth it at the end.
Right.
Just because I have a single recessive, now we're talking next step, right? Now, just because I have a single recessive animal doesn't mean it's not amazing. So like a year ago, I broke the internet very high because I didn't really break the internet, but I posted an animal. I didn't say what it was, and people freaked out. And it was not a visual recessive. So the litmus test still works. You can get people are excited about animals that have big dollar genes and have these cool, crazy recessives. And everyone thought I hit the stranger monsoon.
Right.
So I would just let the comments go ham for a few weeks. Right? And what I posted was a stranger blackhead leopard head clown.
Oh wow.
Yes.
That animal is sick. Still.
Yeah.
Still sick.
Yeah.
It still has great
Nobody's
potential.
seen it.
Oh yeah.
But nobody had made it before. And it's a cool snake. So I don't want to waver people from keep going after the codon thing that they want. Just add the genes you like. So I'm known for stranger and blackhead. What's in that combo?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just doing what I normally do. That was a byproduct, and it turned out really cool. And I actually sold.
Didn't you make the super blackhead clown pie?
I did make blackhead clown pies. I made female blackhead clown pies a year and a half or so ago. Those just moved over to the 40 racks this last weekend.
And I thought you made super soon.
No, and then I finally hit a male. I kept hitting females.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because that's a bad thing, you know?
Right, so if you want to talk clown pies in your rack, I consider those pets. Those are two powerful girls, and all they have is one more codon in them. The right codon. Because the blackhead clown pies are sweet. Blackhead pies are really cool. Blackhead clowns are really cool. And so we're just going to keep stacking into that, making more cool stuff at the end of the day. Yeah. And the byproduct is going to be great, and all the customers are going to love it, right? Because that's just what the project has shown.
You know, I also get another sense from you that you're really big on vision, which is something that I feel lacks in the industry as a whole, in the hobby. And it's a good thing and bad thing at the same time. It's like, okay, cool. You know, and I always use it as an example. Hopefully it's not throwing shade at it. But if you see someone or you've seen someone produce the Pompeii, awesome, absolutely stunning snake. But if your goal now is either to, you know, buy the genes involved in that combination to create that, don't think that you're going to buy babies or juveniles, finish growing them out, maybe have a successful season or two, and now you finally hit that and think you're going to get $10,000 for it 2 years later. That's not going to, that value isn't going to be there. But if that's your vision, go for whatever your vision is. But you shouldn't be disappointed if the monetary value is far less. Our vision for things, we see a gazillion things every day in the industry, in the hobby that we like, that we love. Some things we're like, you know what, we're going to add that to this. But we always have a vision on, you know, trying to add something to it, maybe take something away. Oh, I think it'll look better without this that's in there. But you're having your own kind of twist, your own little seasoning to it to kind of hopefully chase your own passion with it. To me, I find more excitement in that. It's more enjoyable. You know, it's fun watching these eggs, you know, come out of the egg and everything. And I think we lack that as a whole. Do you find that you know similar in your findings when speaking to other breeders or keepers? Everyone's kind of chasing their own tail, trying to create something else that's been there.
Yeah, I think I touched on it a little bit. Again, people are in this for the wrong reasons. These are living animals. If you don't love animals your whole life, if you don't geek out, you get to go to the zoo or like You don't volunteer to go to any kid's birthday unless it's the zoo. You know, I did my 21st birthday at San Diego Zoo, and I did one of my wedding anniversaries at San Diego Zoo. Like,
that's crazy.
I love it. I have animal tattoos all over me, my leg. Like, I just realized that being a zoo. What?
That's a gorilla.
Which
one?
Oh, is it a gorilla right here?
Komodo.
I was gonna say.
Komodo dragon.
That's my reptile arm.
Yep.
And then I have a gorilla on my leg.
Okay, yeah.
I have an African animal leg, and I'm going to do the jungle and the ocean and all that good stuff. So all animals, I'm a nerd for animals, but I found out really quick that being a zookeeper didn't align with my financial goals. So I said, what do I do? Well, you would think that scooping poop would make a 6-figure salary, but I guess not. So,
well, you can see that real fast with ball pythons.
So that part. So to get back to your question, I think people are in it for the wrong reasons to start. They see money, not I get to work with animals. The money is the cool part that comes from doing what you love. But if you're not doing what you love, you're not in it for the right reasons, and maybe you should just appreciate reptiles from afar. Because at the end of the day, the animals suffer, and these are living beings, and karma is so be kind, right? We'll go back to the original comment, be kind. But I want to also go back to your comment on the Pompeii. So I think there's 2 prongs to that. The first prong is what you said. You can't expect to get into a project from ground zero and then sell it for the same price as when it came out. Right. That's not a realistic expectation. Yep. That being said, Pompeii still go for what, 6 to 8K? Right? Somewhere in that rest, still really good money. Because the reason, here's my second prong, the reason they still go for 6 to 8K is it's super hard to hit that combo. That is crazy odds. That is crazy odds. So unless you're going to invest, you can't just do 2 individual animals, a male and a female, and think this is how I'm going to hit the market while it's still relevant. You're going to have multiple pairings that have a chance at that if you're going to hit it close to that. So I think that part is missing from people's scope of thought when they're making these decisions. Is my end goal the craziest thing you could ever hit? Well, then I might need to tag a few pairings into that.
Yeah.
Hey, you're talking to Darren now. I've been on Darren for the longest. I'm like, hey, dude, when you're building these, we have these talks. I'm like, hey, you better have 4 or 5 females just sitting in the rack, ready to roll. You know, like you got to plan all this stuff out. You know, I don't care if your next pickup male is $10,000. I don't care if he's 100 grams. You better have everything mapped out if you're trying to approach it from a business perspective. If you're just buying an expensive animal because it's something that you enjoy and you have the finances to do that, then do it. I get that. But when you're doing it as you're one of the people that's almost at the cutting edge of that project, you need not to buy that as an investment. You drop 10 grand on it, you grow it out for a year, now it's ready to breed. And I'm like, hey, what you gonna breed? So I haven't figured it out yet. You done had a whole year. Like that's supposed to be mapped out for the next 2-3 years or what your plan is. And hopefully it goes full circle because he still may not breed for you. So
and you gotta have females that are up to size.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
So, that's a longer process to begin with. So if you're buying all babies, you might as well just pause on that male and buy something cooler that at a lesser cost in 2 years when that female's ready to go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Insane.
Definitely.
Insane. So what does your day-to-day look like on your keeping and caring side of your collection?
Yeah, so I work from home technically, so I'm sitting in my work office right now. And usually all these fun cages are all blurred out for the work conference calls. And I have just a bunch of like gecko species behind me. I keep a lot more than ball pythons. We can get into that. But the day-to-day, I work, Monday through Friday. We start at 6 a.m. and I usually shut it down for a break around 5:30, get back on the computer at night, 7:30 to 9, finish up some more emails, rinse, repeat. I also travel and do a lot of overnights too. Because I cover from Northern Nevada, Northern California, through Sacramento, the Bay, down to Monterey, leading a team of 9. So I've in these last few years, I've had a lot of help from my son, who does a lot of the cleaning and the rodent care, and I pay his bills. That's our trade-off. So really, I lean on my son a lot, but he's going to be going away to college right? He's in JC junior college right now, but he wants to transfer. He wants to go down to Southern California, whatever. Enjoy. I'll come visit, but I'm not staying. But
that's all you need.
Right. So I have 46 adults for sale, not because I need to like shorten my workload because I'm getting ready for that. I did it before him. I can do it again. It's just my weekends go back to cleaning, right? But right now I have a little bit more free time and can go do stuff. So nothing I haven't already done with or without him. And then honestly, things will probably get tightened up a little better as far as rodent production goes with me.
Yeah.
Because I care about it more, right? It's for me, it's for my stuff, and it impacts my wallet.
Right.
Yeah.
But right now, even with rodent production that we do, I still pay $350, $400 a week in supplemental rodents.
Yeah, that's a
That's a lot.
Mhm.
That's a lot. So the reason I'm cutting 46 adults is not because I'm trying to lighten my workload. It's because I'm a glutton for punishment. And currently I have one tree monitor, but I just bought 3 more. So I need room for my big 4x4x2 enclosures.
Yeah.
So that I can have tree monitors too. And I did that because I have many different species here, and I'll read you the list. And ball pythons were my core, my starting point. Like I said, I still have my first ball python. That's my dude. All my name cards, have the genetics, the name of the snake, birthday, whatever. His just says Monty triple OG. That's it. That's his genetic mutation is triple OG. And so I need to make room for all of these animals, and I wanted to stay engaged, stay interested, and these tree monitors, it's like having a little velociraptor. Like I can see it thinking and like trying to figure me out, and I'm trying to build trust, and that's really like sparked my fire again. So I'm a little bit into lizards right now, and just continuing to do what I love, which is kind of always kept me passionate about renowned reptiles.
What are all the species that you have?
So ball pythons, obviously. I have a big IMG head anery boa.
Oh wow!
Her name's Halle Berry. I love her. I give fun names to the reptiles. So all the ball pythons have Disney names. My wife's obsessed with Disney. There's plenty of names from all the movies over the years. It worked out. But then my pet reptiles are more like pop culture references for the most part. So Halle Berry's my IMG boa. I have 2 Sonoran dwarf boas. So look like red tails, but they're from the Sonoran Desert in Mexico, and they stay much smaller. There's not a ton of mutations within them, but they have hypo, which is a codom in boas, believe it or not. Hypo. So there is a super hypo. So I have a super hypo male, and then I have a hypo leopard female, and she looks like a high design rug, like you see in nice houses or like hotel lobbies. Like that's her pattern. So I'm raising those 2 up to breed those just because they're kind of dark and busy, and I really like it. I have an Argentine boa. So again, dark and busy pattern. You can kind of see a theme going here. I have a Rio Fuerte beaded lizard. His name is Otis Redding. That's my boy. He doesn't like me, but I like him. I have 2 lychees, a breeding pair of lychee geckos that have produced for me. Their names are Mariah Carey and Luther Vandross. They didn't.
That's a good matchup.
Yeah, they
Mariah Carey and Luther Vandross are hooking up.
Yeah. I have gargoyle geckos, Sequoia and Cedar. So I bought Sequoia as a benefit in the benefit auction when Forest passed. And so I named her Sequoia. There's the Forest reference. And then I ended up getting, she's the Darth Maul, like blood red gargoyle gecko. She's beautiful. So I got her a boy, named it Cedar, just to keep it on theme. But they've been producing actually some really cool gargoyle geckos recently. And a project that I really, really like is spear point leaf-tail geckos. So it's one of the smallest of the leaf-tail geckos. The challenge here in Northern California, specifically for leaf-tail geckos, is most leaf-tail geckos need it colder. And where I live, it gets 115 for 3 weeks at a time, and there's just no way to keep it below 72. Like
Yeah.
they need an air conditioning unit, which they now make for reptile cages. But the spear points like it 70 to 76, which is essentially ambient temperature in your house.
Yeah.
Outside of the winter. And so they do really well. They can do really cool bioactive enclosures. They don't need to be huge, but they're really cool animals with lots of personality, and they dive bomb bugs, and they're cool. So I have some of those. I have knobtail geckos. So 2 species of knobtail geckos. One's the smooth. It's the what is it? Which one is that? The Delenii is the smooth one that I have for knobtail, and then I also have the Centralians or the Amii, the more popular knobtails, the spiky ones with the crazy eyes. I have it right there. Oh, right there. And then I have a panther chameleon. He's amazing. His name is Phil Collins.
That's a lot. He's
dropping a Disney album soon. And then I have the Biak green tree monitor, the Cordensis, but I just got Prasinus and Bakari. So the high yellows and blacks.
Wow. So you're how do you get like a feeding and cleaning schedule? Like you have so many different species with so many different requirements and needs. Like how do you stay on top of it?
Not really, because if you think about it, all the food is relatively in line. I didn't name anything that eats like veggies every day, right? Because I travel.
Oh yeah, no,
that doesn't really work for me. So everything I have is rodents, dubias or crickets, scrambled eggs, and then I keep some button quail because I have a couple. The beaded will eat button quail, and the tree monitors will eat button quail. All the geckos will eat crickets and dubias. And just the smoothie, obviously, for the gargoyles and lychees.
Right.
And eggs, like just scrambled eggs, the tree monitors go ham for that, and my beaded lizard loves them too. So it's a lot of cross utilization, right? I'm not. Yes, I named a lot of species, but the food sources that I listed are relatively in the same group.
Gotcha.
And then eggs went up, so you had to pay a lot for my eggs.
Yeah, lay eggs to go.
my buddy has chickens, and he would like, dude, take these eggs. And then he had a son, and I was like, hey, can I get eggs? And he's like, nope. I'm like, what happened? He goes, he eats them all. And I was like,
man.
And then the price of eggs went through the roof, and so I was already out before that happened.
Hey,
I'm
like
everybody else.
We got 3 boys, so yeah, they'll go through 2 dozen eggs in 2 days. It's crazy. Crazy, insane. So, when it comes to like sales, do you do most of your sales online or mostly face to face at the shows?
Depends on how busy I am. I stare at a screen all day long, right? So it's hard to then stare at a screen and upload a bunch of animals. I've been doing better getting things on Morph Market. That being said, that number's gone down recently because I just did a show at SAC, and then I have been utilizing the auctions a little bit. And what I find interesting is the strategy behind the auctions itself, as far as like timing goes on when your auction ends, right, is important, right?
Yes.
If I have to think about my customer base too, and if I want to cover the West and East Coast, I have to think about that when I'm doing my auction times. So if I want my auction to end between 6:30 and 9:30, because there's a 3-hour spread between West and East, right? On Friday, when most people are going to be on their phone potentially, or a Sunday, I need to post between those hours by 6:30 on Tuesday or Thursday.
Because a lot of people are catching on to that. They're catching on to that on the time frames and
Well, it's important. Like I wake up early and I'm seeing auctions that are ending at 5 o'clock in the morning my time. I get that's 8 o'clock.
Where in the world? Yeah, that's weird.
But you either get people that are sleeping or already on their way to work. That's a terrible time to end an auction. So you kind of have to there is some strategy behind that. And the other piece that I'm looking at is it's not really a great judge because you're not getting the full market looking at it at the right time always.
Right.
But it's kind of like level setting what this animal should go for. right?
Yeah,
If I'm
no,
posting a lace het pied for $800 and it's been sitting for 4 months, and then I post it on auction and it goes for 200, what do I start seeing? Is that people are posting them for 200. But I had a blackhead clown male 100% het pied for like $500.
Yeah.
And it went for 450.
See,
so
that's not bad. I was gonna bid on that thing. I seen that. I was like, I could add that in.
Right, but I have another one for you. But my point is it's kind of like, okay, am I on point? And again, that's not a great representation. That's not the full scope. You're missing like a big group of people that could potentially buy that animal, right? If they had the time or the timing was right. So it's not a good indicator, but it is somewhat of a marker, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah. No,
you also get those unicorns as well, where I don't know, a snake, whatever the combo is you got it listed for $500 for the last 6 months, and then you put it on auction and it goes for $7. You're like, what just happened?
No,
people aren't finding it on the post, but they stare at the auctions all day.
Yep.
Now they see your animals they never saw before, and they're excited about it. The other animals that do really well on there, if you like look, you could have it stacked up with all these hets, and like it doesn't go for very much. And I'm like, man, that was a powerful animal. And then something that's just like a single gene codon that looks really pretty.
And you're like, what in the world?
You have my point is that you have both customer bases looking. You have people that breed, and you have people that are just potentially looking to start their collection, and they're kind of going off of what looks cool because they're still trying to figure out their lane. And so it kind of goes back to covering multiple audiences with your productions. And unfortunately, that's usually a byproduct of what we do. You're going to get the low, you're going to get the mid, you're going to get the high.
And now, Ken D, when you saying that,
I agree. I do the same thing.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that do it because I do it sometimes. Just because there might be that animal that I really actually need for the project that I'm trying to put in. And I'm like, okay, I need that one.
Yep, definitely. Wow.
And then they just comb all 7 pages, or no, sometimes like 13 pages.
Well, hold on. I did notice something with the morph market auctions. It looks like there's 15 pages, but as you're flipping the pages, the bottom 2 or 3 rows from the previous page are now at the top. The next.
Yep.
So if you look across the scope of pages, you could potentially be adding anywhere from 1 to 5 pages to the auction, depending on the volume of animals.
Because they're also rotating and some are disappearing. And then by the time you flip a couple pages, some have already finished. That by the time you got to the 3rd or 4th page, and then so it kind of moves up.
That could be true too, but it also just kind of does that. It like self-inflates.
Okay.
That's crazy.
I look at that thing, I'm like, okay, I go through. What time is it? Okay, some auction's probably gonna end soon. Let me go check and see what's on there.
Set alarms in your phone to go back and check it.
It's like people, hey, scrolling. You scroll real quick, all of a sudden you get lost. I'm looking at animals. What are you looking at? I'm looking at animals, man.
I like to hit the shop button and then sort by newest posted.
Yep, that's what I do too. Yeah.
Because then I can just see what people just posted, right? And then you could do the inverse and do the oldest posted and see what type of animals have just been sitting. Is it because of price? Is it because they're mis-ID'd? Or is it because pictures are bad? Or is that gene just kind of falling out of scope? Now that can drive 2 actions. That can say like, hey, I might need to start moving away from this gene a little bit. Or it can say people are sleeping on it. I'm going to dive into it because I know it can do something in this project. I'm going to hit that road and be the one that ignites it. Like I was producing special pieds years and years ago, and they were like hot, right? And they were just sitting on Morph Market. Justin released a special pied, like special video, and I sold all 5 that were on that day.
Oh wow, that's
they've been sitting there for 6 to 7 months.
That's
so
insane.
To me, that's like people aren't staying in their lane. But if you get shown something really cool, it can change your direction, which is okay, right? I may have believed something at one time. I got a new piece of information, and then I changed my belief, right? That's
I agree with you on that. And it's also a tiered system. Depends on what you're looking for even if it's hobby or business. Business, it depends on your business plan and how it's structured. We're a little bit more lenient and considerate when it comes to females with genes, maybe coming with a gene that we weren't necessarily looking for versus a male in that part. So it depends on some of those things as well. But for you, another question: what's the gene, incomplete, dominant, or recessive, that just one gene that you're the most excited about currently right now?
That's
Tough.
tough. You're like making me choose children right now. I'm going to break it up. So the codom or the dominant side, it's Stranger still for me. I love Blackhead and the variable, but Stranger is just sick. And even though the price gone way down, it's still untapped in what it can do in different projects. And I saw a Stranger Clown Pied that just was like, okay, here we go. So Stranger on that side, and so that's like what I'm known for. But I do have a lot of lace stuff, and I really like lace a lot.
Now, are you sure you have lace stuff?
Yes, because mine's a hypo white lace, and so everything I produce
is you know where that's coming from. I'm like, wait a minute, I would be so pissed if I was one of those people currently right now that's discovering, after years of breeding it or just getting into their collection, that your lace isn't lace. It's something, but it's not lace. I'm like, what?
Yeah. At the beginning of this year, I think I hatched out pastel confusion lace het clown. I can't find any pastel confusion that's that pretty. There was also leopard and spot nose in the pairing, but the pattern doesn't say that at all, like not even close. But this thing is just like neon yellow for no reason, basically, just to be a pastel confusion. But I'm not 100% sure that it's lace or it's just super nice. So I haven't even posted it yet. I'm just staring at it for a while.
Oh, you got to post it.
I asked my other buddies that work with lace and ID all day, and they're like, oh, that's lace. That's lace. And I'm like, But I've never done a shed test in my life either. Like, I'd rather sell it for less than what it could potentially have and tell them what it could potentially have. And I'm not knocking the shed tests at all. I just don't think we've had enough data yet to have a bunch of things prove out that were confirmed.
Yep. Right? That's the first. You're the first one who said that.
If I'm shed testing a baby, depending on the sex, it could take me 3 years to validate the shed test. So I don't know the false positive rates yet, and I don't want to. Like, I feel like if one of those shed tests doesn't prove out, who's it on?
Right.
Is it on the breeder to then reimburse, or what do we do?
I mean, if you had it tested and you're going by what they said, and then you sold it saying that, hey, it's been tested by them.
Then what?
I mean,
because if we start holding the shed testing companies accountable for all their false negatives, they're going to close up their doors, and now we don't have shed testing.
Right.
Yeah, true.
So if it's not on the breeder and it's not on the shed tester, who's it on? It's not going to be on the customer. That's not fair.
No, it is.
So I would rather sell you a possible yellow belly.
Yeah, because then there's no harm, no foul. I just said it may have. Yeah.
And if I'm not worried about hets, I'm just going to breed some visuals, which is kind of what I've been doing and getting 100% hets, at least 100% het. And then I'll put the pause. And I'm not against shed testing. I have 10 credits with Charlie right now that I haven't used.
Yeah.
I'm concerned just from my history outside of reptiles in the medical field, like there's false positives on your blood draws.
Yeah, you are.
That's been around for years, decades and decades and decades, and they've been refining that process. And there's still false positives because there's human error, and there's tests that aren't accurate. There's stuff that happens.
And so, in the medical field, you see all that,
right? And it's not a knock. I just want to see more data. Like, I want to see how we're addressing false positives. I want to see the percentage of false positives, and are we even transparent with that information? And are they being transparent with how they find the test to begin with?
Interesting.
Because why does one have 1 million tests and one doesn't? Is it money? Is it resources? Or is it process?
I can see that.
That's
You
a
know,
good point. That's a good
So
point.
that's me just
It
being
is.
skeptical. Again, no knock. I love that. Like the shed testing has been great for a lot of people. It's helped them with their projects. It's helped breeders sell at the true dollar value instead of POS and then getting shot in the foot when everything proved out for that customer. I appreciate all of that. I'm just more like data driven on my day to day.
I get that. I get that completely. Yeah, because you see it from that viewpoint of I mean, look at the COVID test. I mean, that was trial and error. Trial and error.
Yeah. The COVID test. Oh gosh, you're open a can of worms in that one.
But I mean, what if they've been out for relatively the same amount of time?
Right.
One has a lot more dollars behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. COVID test did have a lot of dollars behind it. It's still out there, and people saying I'm coming with false positives.
Or asymptomatic, as they call it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I tested positive. I don't feel anything.
You're letting go 46 females or breeders. That is. Are they being replaced with grow outs, or are they just not? Those tubs are not being.
6 of them are getting replaced with holdbacks.
Okay.
And my goal is to sell a 40 rack.
Okay. Oh. Okay.
Oh, so you're gonna go one less rack?
One less rack. I mean, I still have a lot of other racks, but I just need room for those bigger enclosures.
Oh, look, we already made a connection because Darren is getting a 40. So look, he may need you to sell those.
Let me know when you're ready to sell it. Don't sell it to nobody else. We talk about this.
Well, how about you? We could talk about that. You could build out my rat room.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't mind, man. I'll do it. I'll show you what the rack that I got. I'll do it.
It's air conditioned, so
is it air conditioned?
You do it.
No, that's
a little dusty, but it's got AC.
Yep.
How many racks do you have right now in your setup?
Ball python racks?
Yeah, ball python racks.
I have 2 of the big Freedom Breeder racks, but they're stacked 13 high.
Okay.
Hey, you gotta know this dude is tall, so 13 high. He's not short.
I'm 6'4".
With Big E and all that.
Oh wow. Okay, he's 6'4".
So at my booth, the joke is like, and other vendors said this. Now this is not coming from me, but they were like,
right.
You know who Renowned is, or this guy is, and the other vendor was like, just look for the really tall white guys. And I was like, that's what you said to help them find me? And he was like, the customer told me that. And I said, who said that? And so I went over there and I'm like, that's what you said? And they were like, it worked. And I was like,
they found you.
I'm the shortest person at my booth typically, and I'm 6'4".
Oh wow. How tall is your son?
My son's 6'5", and then Ryan's 6'6".
Wow.
Ryan is 6'6".
Yep.
So
yeah.
Jeez, what they got in the water out there?
And I'm 6'4".
That's crazy. See, KG's saying hey out there.
Oh, KG's my boy. KG's my boy.
Yep.
Spent a lot of time with KG and D.
Oh yeah. Good people. Good people. They welcomed us since day one. That's wild.
KG's the man.
So two Freedom Breeder racks. Now, Freedom Breeder, you went with Freedom Breeder because they're local.
I have 2 of the big ones stacked high, and then I have a it's got the 40 tubs, but it's 2 wide.
Okay.
And that one's the same height.
Oh yeah.
But I have all my males in that.
Okay.
And my females are in the other
perfect.
racks. And then I have a hatchling rack, 5 across, that's 18 high. 18 levels high. And then I have a 3 across hatchling that's 13 levels high.
Yeah. He went up.
Do you ever get full pretty much to the brim or no?
I'm full.
He said I'm full now.
Every time I sell an adult, a holdback goes over. Like I had 2 open steps from the SAC show, and I put the 2 blackhead clown pies over to the 40.
So when are we going to get a update?
That's exactly what I've been doing. As soon as I sell an adult, I'm moving over.
Yeah, I need to do it. and I'm trying to think of the weekend schedule, and I'm like, yeah, it's definitely not gonna be next weekend.
Right.
So maybe the one after that, I'll put some adults up on Morph Market.
Okay. All right. So
Really
about
good
2
stuff,
weeks.
like big clown girls, desert ghosts, you know,
Oh,
big
wow.
girls that are multiple codons with a het. You know, it's nothing's wrong. They produce. I just need room.
Right.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I 100%. So
your setup now, is it from your home or is it an actual facility in another location? Or
I have a finished garage with its own AC.
Okay.
In it.
Awesome.
And then I have a 10 by 12 shed in the back that's the rodents.
Okay. Wow, that's plenty of room back there for rodents, man.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I don't. It's not very full. I had a 7 by 5 by 4 vision cage in there that used to have a giant, like a big retic that would eat the retired breeders.
Right.
Unfortunately, he passed away. He had some tumors. And then I cleaned up the cage, or I sprayed it down. And then Rich from Capital City took it and pressure washed it and cleaned all the glass and is setting up water monitor in it now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I have a ton more room in my rodent room with that giant vision enclosure out.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, I see Darren's going to be doing some work over at Renowned.
Never a shortage of work at Renowned.
Oh, my gosh.
What are some of the new genes you're thinking about adding to the collection, if you do?
LC.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. I was there. I brought Ryan there for the first time. I run to go do something, come back, and KG had given Ryan one.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what the hell? What
It's because he was 6'6".
I think KG's scared of redheads or something and just
oh, man.
I don't know what it was. I really like the Bambino gene. Obviously, it's dark and busy. Yeah, it's both of those things in one gene, and that's like right in my lane.
Okay.
So I've definitely been looking at that. Honestly, I'm really excited at just the combos that I've been building and working on, you know, with Stranger and Wookiee, Stranger and Blackhead. Cool lace combos coming this year. Hopefully some white lace clowns. Hopefully some cool DG clown combos. We got some redhead stuff coming this year. Got it already cooking in the incubator, so that's cool. I had my first clutch of the year. Like, I think this year is going to be a good year, and I'm calling it the year of truth. 2025 is the year of truth. Truth wins. So I had a surprise clutch to kick it off. I have like 5 stranger girls that are all possible het clown. They're all like stranger leopard, stranger lesser, whatever. And I was gonna sell them all, and they got really big, and I moved them over to the hold rack, and then I just never posted them, and they're all like breeding size now. But then I went through this whole I need to get rid of 46 adults, and so I marked them all for sale. But I forgot at the end of last year, I threw one snake in with the stranger lesser 50% het clown. I never saw a lock, pulled it out. And then Rich was over, and we were opening tubs, and I opened it, and she's like got all the bedding pushed away, is coiled in a perfect circle, and I'm looking at her going,
oh, wow.
It's like you're about to lay. And I'm like, what the hell? I didn't have anything on her. What did I pair her with? So I just looked back at my phone of what I was going to potentially pair her with. And I threw a cinnamon fire spot nose clown in there.
Oh, wow.
So she retained, dropped right at the beginning of this year. And Capital City's calling me right now. Dropped right at the beginning of this year and only gave me 3 eggs, no slugs, but whatever. It was on a retained. And then they just hatched out, and it was a stranger het clown, a fire het clown, and this wild looking thing that it's definitely lesser spot nose, something. But
wow.
It's going to shed, and I'll figure it out. But then the next clutch that dropped was a spot nose, red stripe, yellow belly DG clown to a blackhead double het clown pied. And then the clutch. So I only have 2 in the incubator right now, but I have a bunch coming. But the other one that dropped was a yellow belly clown, possible het pied. Obviously, I didn't shed test yet because she's breeding. To a redhead, black pastel, spot nose, double het hypo clown, 66% het DG.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not
How
like
many breedings are you doing this year?
this year. I'll probably do a lighter year again. I'll do a little more than last year, but I'm still keeping it lighter. So I'll probably do 15 to 20 clutches.
Okay.
That's still quite a bit, though. That's still quite a bit.
Yeah, 40 was a lot.
I was about to say 40 was 40 the most that you've
42
done?
was the most, and that was like the big stranger year. And that year I had to get an LLC because you couldn't hide from the man when you're taking wire transfers from Japan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 42 was the most, and that was a lot. Like that's filling up every tub in the Freedom Breeders, pulling out melamine hatchling racks and stacking it in my office. And like then at that point I was then building snake tubs out of individual tubs and then putting them back in the incubator because I had so many.
God, yeah. Yeah,
I don't want to do that
that's
again.
a lot.
That was too much. At a hobby level, that was too much.
Hey, at least you know your limit. You're like, yeah, no, not again. No, I'm good.
Yeah, the cup runneth over at that point.
Yeah, that's definitely scary. I don't, not knowing your limit is kind of scary too. We did 43 the first year, and last year we did 33. But yeah, not knowing your limit is scary too. Yeah.
Well, the other thing that happened is a lot of girls went, like all of them, just about.
Yeah.
And I was the average clutch size was 10 eggs.
Holy crap!
The biggest was 17 that year. So
you
not only do I have way more
17?
clutches, I'm getting way more eggs. I mean, these were huge girls like Lesser Het Clown. That's 4,400 grams. Dropped 17 eggs.
See, we don't even have a 4,000 gram female. We have one coming, but we don't have.
I have clown girls in my reptile room that look like blood pythons.
Oh my God!
They are thick girls. They're from 2015. They're 10 years old.
Yep.
Right.
They're eating good, and they lay every year, and they drop between 10 and 12 eggs, and
yeah,
it's hard to sell those girls.
Yep.
$400.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
now, besides your triple OG male,
yeah.
Are there any others that maybe not popular or not the end gene that you carry, that you have, that you work with?
Richard. Yeah.
Richard. The scaleless. Okay.
Yeah.
Is he the only other one?
I've never bred him. He's het for True Ghost.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's from Jason Amos. I got him like one of the first ones Jason produced back in the day. I've never bred him. I did get a girl randomly. She's a Mojave hypo scaleless. So I figured I'd pair them just because people are like, oh, scaleless don't live. And I'm like, well, here's a 7-year-old adult male. Well, they're hard to take care of. He does the exact same thing everybody else does.
Yeah. How big is he?
Now let me.
Probably 1,500 grams.
Holy crap! Okay. Holy crap!
Let me ask you a question. You said that in one of your interviews talking about that you weren't going to add hypo to any of your dark stuff.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did. It was one interview. I heard you say it.
Hypo and dark go really well together.
Okay.
See?
I know I heard it. I was like,
that's not him.
No, I've got stranger double-head hypo clown stuff for sale right now.
Oh, holy crap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Stranger Mojave double-head hypo clown.
I might have to take a look at that myself. I'm into that project too.
I gotcha. They're beautiful. Really, really cool. I mean, the variability just within stranger is pretty wild.
Let me ask you a question about that now, because I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but when it comes to the super stranger, have you hit one yet? And do you see it? Is it like leopard or pinstripe where, okay, there's a super, but it's just genetically a super and no visual difference? Or have you not had any experience with the super?
Well, I think the most important point is I didn't try. So
okay.
I'm not the one for that. When Justin posted his video on the super stranger, I was like,
Okay, we in the same boat. Nope, we in the same boat. No problem. Because I was like, I don't see it.
I talked to Jason Amos, and he actually sent pictures to Justin of the like exact same animal, right? That Jason had produced. And he's like, "Oh, you hit supers too?" And he goes, "No, these are just strangers. There's no stranger on the other side. There's just that variable." So like I even had, before there was a lot of stranger, I had something as like a stranger black pastel, and then somebody posted a picture of a stranger black pastel, and it's essentially a patternless animal. So I had to remove black pastel and just be like, this stranger is just ridiculously dope for no reason. But then you, in the same clutch, like you have the variability of 3 different strangers. They're all stranger double-head hypo clown. They just look different.
Yep. You even see that in the stranger clowns out there. There's a lot of stranger clowns. You're like, wait, if that's
not
stranger
all stranger clowns are created equal. Not all blackhead clowns are created equal. Yeah. A lot of the dark genes can have some variability to them. But this also makes it cool. Is you hatch out just cool stuff.
Yeah. Jeez. And what year did you get your stranger? Your first one?
So Jason brought the I think one of the first males into the US, 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. It was a stranger leopard, 100% head clown. He bred it for the first year and then gave it to me. So I think 2020 or the end of 2019, I would say.
Okay. That was the perfect time to get in. That was perfect.
Like I sold to some big name breeders, some really cool stuff. Yeah, that was exciting. And honestly, that's like been a highlight of my career, is like when someone that you really respect in the game hits you up to buy an animal, like that's a big deal. So like and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, because like obviously some of these people are my friends, so it doesn't really count when you're selling to your friends. Like Miguel's purchased an animal from me, AEP. He and I are good friends. But like people that I really respect, when I made the first like super blackheads and started putting those out, Ozzy bought one from me, and that was a huge deal.
Wow.
And then, like Brad Boa and that company started buying stranger clown stuff from me, and so I've had some really cool experiences and some really like blessed situations in the industry that I've gotten to interact in a sales format with people that I really respect.
Yeah.
Outside
that's big when people, when
Ozzy sends you a message and asks for more pictures of your super, I was like, is this real life? Like, am I allowed to post this online right now? Like, and I've met Ozzy. He and I've gone out to dinner. Like, I've spent time with him, but like, that's still a really big deal.
Heck yeah, that's a big deal. Heck yeah.
So I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for my time in the industry, for sure.
Yeah. That's big. That's big.
So when it comes to your feeding, what's your rodent of choice?
So I'm in California. ASFs are illegal. I'm going to say that out loud. I feed rats.
Gotcha. I'm catching.
Straight rats. Only rats, and I got mine.
I'm catching the throne.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I got a cool one that I want to talk to you guys about, if I can ask you guys a question, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So I was talking to somebody at a reptile show, and they were in animal sciences, like as a career. It was like an older gentleman. He looked like he was like a professor at like a JC or some junior college or something. Like, he looked legit. And we were talking about all the colors of ball pythons. I'm like, yeah, it's amazing. There's thousands of color mutations within the species. And he goes, well, yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, why? What do you mean? And he goes, well, they live underground. I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, most species that live underground have the genetic mutations and color variations pop out. And he starts naming like samboas and this and like things that have a lot of color and brightness. And I'm like, and he goes, if you live underground, you don't get picked off as easy. So you see more of that for these species that live underground. And he was looking at me like, duh. And I had never even thought about that.
Yeah, neither.
Not at all. Never crossed my mind.
And so the more you think about these bright, colorful species within snakes, a lot of the ones that go underground have a lot of color mutation.
Yeah. Huh. That's a trick.
Yeah,
no. Think about it. By him saying that, yeah, because they go underground, they're just, they're not a
higher chance of survival with a crazy color.
Right.
Look at the Gaboon Viper. They got that thing has just a natural base color of that, and then it sits in the leaves and it just waits. And it blends. Like if you would really have to look, you see it blend in, and then all of a sudden it waits for a spray to come by and just tags it.
Yep.
Trying to pull up this tab 1 second of something you produce actually. Yep, that's it.
Oh, let's see it.
Well, this is Stranger Clown. Stranger Clown from Renown.
Good example of a high quality stranger clown, in my opinion.
I agree. Now let me see if I see the other. Yeah, this is the other one. See, and it's even so with those two, it's even variability there, but it's like you said, the pattern's different. And then I was trying to search through and see if I was able to find mine that we have here. We have two girls. Let me see. I think it's right here. Yep. Okay. So if it was my very, very first time looking at it, I would be like, there's no way that you would consider something like this. This is a stranger clown. It was pos het hypo, but she's 100% het hypo. She's going to be breeding hopefully at the end of this season. But everything else I find similar. I found maybe one or two that are relatively close to her pattern. You can see the clown and everything obviously in it, but it's like that much of a difference. That's what I thought.
And that could be the head hypo. I mean, heads have a stronger influence than we think on certain animals, especially like if you have an animal as het DG, it's a little bit brighter than maybe some of the other ones are.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely could see that.
So I would say that hypo with dark genes react really well, and so potentially the heterozygous form is also having some sort of influence on the base color pattern.
Now, in all these years now, with you being in the industry, in the hobby, and having fun with it, do you have any dinkers that you've been kind of playing around with here and there?
No, I don't think I have a big enough collection to play with dinkers. Right?
I
don't want to hold back that much and just grow out and test. Like, I don't have the space for that. If I did this full time, had a big facility, had racks with empty bins, that might be something that I played with, especially on the dark side, right?
Right.
If you want to be known for dark and busy, coming out with your own dark gene is probably a great way to establish yourself in the game.
Okay.
But again, I don't have the space to really do justice to a dinker project.
Yeah, that's something else we've been preaching, making sure you have the infrastructure in place before going down that pathway. It's definitely working on them dinker genes, trying to figure it out and see how it
rolling back hets so that you can then prove out what, because you want to see what it looks like in clown and this and that before you release it to the market and get lapped on your own gene. So there's a ton of, working a dinker gene to me is like a 5 to 10 year minimum process.
Oh, easy.
If you want to actually find something and release it to the market in the right way and control your project so you don't have a bunch of people just driving the value down, like especially on a new gene, there's a lot of complexities that come with that. Like you got to pick your partners is almost as important of how you run the gene.
That's definitely yeah. No, you're right. You have to. You have to.
Nope.
Because even when you got your stranger, you said the same thing, like $40,000 purchase, but you kind of, especially being in the sales, field anyway, you knew kind of what to at least expect as you move forward, as far as return on investment, where you wanted to create. Is there a certain value in creating holdback animals that nobody else has that is exactly what you want versus how much monetary value you gain from what you sold? There's value there. How much is relative to the person, but I don't think people give enough value on that. You whatever gene it could be. Here we're talking about a darker gene. You buy into it, it's very expensive, and your first year breeding it to 2 or 3 females. If you're lucky enough to have 8 crazy combination holdback girls, and you were only able to sell 5 animals, you're not going to generate the whole investment back in 2 years, and you're unhappy with that. That makes no sense.
Right.
To me, you should be, you have to it's like a pendulum, all this wealth here that you didn't necessarily come out of pocket for things that was your target for you to create, and nobody else was going to create it. Or if they did, they wouldn't sell it. And you have it now. But you give yourself no credit or no weight to that project. But then you also lead people astray, because now as you continue forward, oh yeah, I spent 40 grand or whatever on this, and the project's tanked now. No, I think we don't have the business savviness to kind of explain it in the right way, because you benefited. You still held them 8 animals back. You didn't sell them, but you now lead the next possible person to get interested in the hobby that we all share in a negative mindset. Does that make sense? Like, it doesn't make sense, but I don't know why we do that.
Yeah, totally. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Again, I think it just goes back to staying in your own lane. Like, if you're chasing people's tail all the time, like, and it's really like where society is right now in general. I don't mean to get like that right now, but like, we have a bunch of followers. People only want to do what other people are doing because it looks cool. But as far as innovation and driving a business goes, you can't do that. Or you're just gonna, he who follows the flock steps in sheep shit. Right? That's how it goes. Like, and I try to preach this to my son: is just be a wolf, man.
Right. None
of this matters.
Yeah.
Do your own thing. Do it hilarious.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yep, because you're only happy, when it happens to you. And I was actually talking to another guy. We're mentoring at this point, and it's like, okay, we can all talk a good game. Well, we want to hit this and we want to hit that, But when you end up, let's say you bite off a little bit more than you can chew, like you said, you have a primary job, a career, but the funds have to come from somewhere, especially getting started. So if you're taking food out of, your family's mouth, essentially, which you shouldn't, and you put it into something, you're like, oh, I want to create this, I want to create that. Well, if you're given everything you possibly wanted and you hit nothing but holdbacks and you have nothing to sell, essentially you should be the happiest man on earth. And they're still angry even with that. So it's like, at one hand, you get what you want. On the other hand, you don't. I just think we're in a society where you're never going to truly be happy. But I don't know. I think we need to change it from within, give them the realness, the truth, like how you're telling your story now. You want it to stay a hobby. You don't want this to be full time. There's different tiers. There's different lanes. Pick one, go at it, enjoy the animals, the living, breathing creatures. Like, I don't know. It's just, it's weird for me coming from a business area and now coming into this, because a lot of people don't respect their own businesses.
Yeah, and you see that most prevalent at reptile shows.
Yeah.
I invested all this money into all these snakes. I should just sit back and people should be lining up to rip these from my hands. But
right.
You have half a paper towel as a tablecloth and a whiteboard as your company name. And you guys look disheveled and wearing sweats and like we you got to come with the total package. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
If you want new customers to come in, you got to bring something that draws their eye. And if you want to retain customers and build a base, you have to give them a reason to stay. And I think it's pretty simple when you look at it like that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we had you about an hour and a half, brother. I appreciate you coming on, and I'm going to keep you the whole afternoon. Make sure you can get back to the family and do everything on this lovely Sunday. We already said we can hopefully we're not going to hold them to it, but hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we should get another Morph Market update for everyone else who's not local to the Sacramento area, and see what he's releasing, since he's going to have some breeders.
If you don't want to wait on that, just send me a message on Instagram and I'll send you my availability list.
Ooh. Well, I'm gonna send you a message automatically. I want to know the list.
We can make it simple.
Kind of like a game plan. Bet. So you heard it here first. Inbox Renown. Inbox Nick. Ask him for his availability list. You know, blow up his inbox because he has some readers that he is letting go. Oh man.
That's 40. That's 40. That's a lot.
That's a
40.
And there's some heat.
Look, and Darren need them going too because Darren need to pick up the rack. So Darren need to push them. We're doing a lot of
knows
that.
where to find me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure. But we appreciate you guys. We appreciate everyone that's in the comment area as well. We're tuning in today. We will be back in another 2 weeks. We're going to stick to the schedule. We're going almost 2 years strong at this point. And it's because of all you guys watching and for people like you, Nick, for wanting to come in and put your time to the side and come in on the show and debut and talk about all pythons, which is what we all love. So
yeah, no,
definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much for inviting me. Again, thank you to everyone who was in the comments or watching today. Appreciate your time and attention, and always happy to help. So reach out.
Definitely. Really quick, what's your next show that you may have lined up coming up?
We got a little stretch coming up in June. There's San Jose. There's a pop-up in Sacramento. I think it's the same weekend as Pomona. I won't be down at Pomona, so all my NorCal peeps, if you're not going down to Southern Cal, come see me in NorCal. And then in August, we'll have the Roseville show, which is a really nice venue. Okay. Big air conditioning in the hottest month of the year. So
nice.
What's the pop-up show?
The Greater Reptile Show people, they just did one in Modesto or in Stockton, like Modesto. I guess they used to do it. They did some down in Central and Southern, and they've been kind of poking up here now. And they hit me up and offered me a booth for Sacramento, and I'm not going to Pomona, so might as well show out.
Show up there.
There we go. Love it.
That's the first time I heard of this. So
we need to send Darren out there to record it, man. Get some content out there. Get some content up on.
You have Darren show up. I'm gonna put him to work.
That's what I'm talking about. But we appreciate you guys, and go ahead and enjoy the rest of this Sunday with your family. And we definitely be touching base really, really soon. We appreciate you, bro.
Yep. Thank you.
Later.